Hey everyone, welcome back to the Explainer. So if you're gearing up for the digital SAT and maybe feeling just a little bit overwhelmed by the reading section, well, take a breath because you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're basically going to completely demystify this test. I promise. By the time we wrap up, you'll have a crystal clear, actionable roadmap to just totally conquer the digital SAT reading section, with absolute confidence. All right, let's jump right in. To make sure we're actually bringing you the absolute best strategies out there, today's insights come directly from a pretty definitive source, the 5th edition of Erica L. Meltzer's The Critical Reader. If you know, you know. This is widely considered literally the ultimate guide to the new digital format of the test, and we're going to break down its foundational core right here, right now.
Okay, so here's our game plan, the agenda for demystifying the exam. Number 1, structure, the what. Number 2, passages, the where. Number 3, rhetorical reading, the why. And finally, number 4, question types, the how. Let's get to it.
Section 1, structure, navigating the digital setup.
Okay, so before we even look at a single word of text, we've got to understand the concrete logistics of test day, right? Because knowing exactly what you're walking into is literally half the battle. So let's lay down the foundation. When you actually sit down for the reading and writing portion of the digital SAT, you are going to face exactly 2 modules. That's it. Just 2 blocks of focused effort.
And keeping that momentum going, within each of those 2 modules, you'll be answering exactly 27 questions. And what's kind of cool is the software actually lets you skip around. You can answer them in any order you want within that specific module, which is great because you can lock in those easy wins right up front. Now, to finish off this initial logistical puzzle, you have exactly 30 minutes to get through each of those modules. So, do the math. That gives you slightly over a minute per question. It is definitely a fast pace, but as we're going to see, the test is totally designed for it.
Now, arguably, the most crucial word you need to understand here is adaptive. Because the digital exam is adaptive, how you do on Module 1 directly dictates the difficulty of the questions you're going to see in Module 2. This basically means you need to bring your absolute A game right out of the gate. You want to make sure you're routed to that higher difficulty, higher scoring second module. Careless errors early on, yeah, they can seriously cap your maximum score potential. But wait, here is your massive reassurance hook, and I seriously want you to burn this into your brain. There is absolutely no penalty for guessing on the digital SAT. None. This is your golden rule, okay? The scoring software doesn't subtract a single point for a wrong answer. Because of that, you should never, and I mean under any circumstances, leave a question blank. Even if you've got 5 seconds left and you're totally out of time, guess. Pick a random letter, pick whatever, just guess.
Moving on to Section 2, passages, your reading battleground.
So, now that we've got the structure down, let's actually map out what you'll be reading on test day. And I want everyone to take a collective, massive sigh of relief right now. Seriously, gone are the days of those endless, multi-page reading passages that just make your eyes completely glaze over. On the digital SAT, almost all the passages are just a single short paragraph. We're talking 50 to 150 words, short and sweet, with just one single question attached to it.
But, and this is a really big but, just because they're short does not mean they're a walk in the park. Take a look at this breakdown. You're going to face 4 distinct categories. First, fiction, which might throw some really challenging old-fashioned language or even poetry at you. Then humanities, which dives into stuff like art and music. Social science could hit you with dense historical arguments. And natural science passages, those can be super technical, dealing with biology or physics. And sometimes they'll even make you analyze charts or graphs right alongside the text. So you've really got to be ready to just shift your brain between these entirely different modes on the fly.
All right. Section 3, rhetorical reading, the secret engine of the SAT.
Okay, this is where we shift from the basic facts and logistics to the real philosophical core of the exam. I actually want to pause for a second and just ask you directly, what does the SAT actually test? Think about it for a second. Is it just testing if you memorize the dictionary, or if you can remember a random fact you read literally 5 seconds ago? Nope. There is a secret engine running underneath every single question.
See, there's a massive difference between what you do in your high school English class and what the SAT actually demands from you. High school classes generally teach literal comprehension, right? Finding the facts, paying attention to all those little plot details. The SAT, though, it's largely a test of argument comprehension. It wants to know if you understand exactly how arguments are constructed, what conclusions can logically be inferred, and how some brand new piece of information might support or totally ruin a claim. So comprehending the facts is necessary, sure, but it is definitely not sufficient.
Which brings us to the most crucial point of this whole explainer: rhetorical reading. Rhetoric, at its core, is the art of persuasion. So reading rhetorically means you aren't just scanning for facts. You are reading to actually understand an author's argument and the specific function that every single sentence plays in building that argument. And honestly, here's the best news you're going to hear all day. Reading like this, it's a totally acquirable skill. It's not some innate talent you either have or don't have. It really just takes practice. I love this quote directly from Meltzer's book because it sums it up perfectly. The SAT not only tests the ability to comprehend what is written in a passage, but also why it's written. You've got to shift your mindset completely away from mere fact-finding. When you're reading an SAT passage, you should just constantly be asking yourself, wait, why is the author telling me this right now? Understanding that why is literally how you beat this test.
All right, moving into Section 4, Question Types, Decoding the Traps.
Let's look at how this whole overarching philosophy of rhetorical reading actually translates into the real questions on your screen. This source material literally categorizes the exact question stems you are going to see on test day. And honestly, this proves that the SAT isn't some random torture device. It's just a highly predictable puzzle. If you know the categories, you know exactly what the test makers are trying to trick you into doing. Let's run through these first core question types real quick. You've got vocabulary, which, asks for precise words based entirely on context clues. You have literal comprehension, which is just testing straightforward meaning. Big picture questions. Those are asking for the main idea or the central point. But pay really close attention to function questions, because these force you to move way beyond the literal meaning and identify the actual rhetorical role. Like, does the sentence support a point, refute it, or criticize it?
Continuing that breakdown, we've got text completion, where you basically have to infer logical conclusions to finish a thought. Support/undermine questions. These demand a super deep understanding of the author's underlying argument because you have to figure out how brand new evidence would affect it. Then there are paired passages, which require you to compare conflicting viewpoints, where authors might totally agree on one tiny detail but completely disagree on the big picture. And finally, graphic-based questions, where you're synthesizing text with data from a chart or a table. So how on earth do you handle all these different types without just totally burning out? Well, here are 3 actionable steps straight from the author. Step 1, read the question slowly. Actually read it. Step 2, understand exactly what is being asked before you even glance at the answer choices. Like, if it asks for the purpose of a sentence, do not pick an answer that just summarizes what the sentence says. And Step 3, keep moving. Please avoid the trap of endlessly rereading confusing little details that probably aren't even relevant to the question. You have to save your mental energy.
Bringing it all together, I really want to reassure you that digital SAT is an absolutely conquerable puzzle. By understanding that 27-question structure, by anticipating those specific passage types, and realizing that you don't actually have to understand every single highly technical word as long as you grasp the underlying rhetorical argument, well, you are taking complete control of your test prep.
So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought as you head into your next practice session. Are you ready to stop reading for facts and start actually reading for arguments? Equip yourself with this rhetorical lens. Remember, there's absolutely no penalty for guessing, and go tackle those modules. Thanks so much for joining me on this